Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to another edition of the MrWarrenHayes Show. I am MrWarrenHayes, and I am thrilled to be here once again on a Thursday evening, specifically February 17, 2022, because it is the time of the week that I enjoy the most. That is to talk about the week in professional wrestling, talk about it, express some opinions, spew out some views, but mostly hang around with all of you right here on youtube.com/MrWarrenHayes, where I record live every Thursday night, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 Central. And if you're watching this right now, leave a like. That's right, I'm being authoritative and commanding. This is what my horoscope said for the week. You will enter bouts of authoritarianism and commanderisms. Now, my horoscope is given to me verbally by someone who did not finish the 3rd grade. But I still understood the gist of what they were telling me. Leave a like if you're watching this right now live. Leave a like if you're watching this on youtube.com on demand, whenever you want, upon your top convenience. That's very much appreciated. Plus, if you are listening to this on your favorite podcast application, you know what? Thank you. Thank you so very much. I appreciate all the audio listeners out there, out in audio land. I appreciate it. Show some love there with a rank, a star rating. Whatever you can do to show some love, that kind of stuff, I appreciate it a great deal. You know, like it can be a review, also that you can do that, and that kind of stuff is great. Plus, on Spotify, you can also leave 5-star reviews now, and on Spotify, you can also watch me. Still right now to this day, you can see the MrWarrenHayes Show. You can watch me in video on the Spotify platform. Now, you still cannot see Juliette Lewis on the Spotify platform. I would say, once again, Hollywood 0, MrWarrenHayes 3. Why 3? Because The Weeknd, the top selling recording artist, you can't see him on Spotify. Daniel Craig either. Juliette Lewis neither. So, you got all sorts of choices. You can listen, you can watch. You can listen, you can watch, you can lissotch or wisten. Okay. That's enough. Appreciate it as usual. Thank you everyone for hanging out tonight. And of course, per usual, follow us at belltobells.com. That's BELLTOBELLES.com. Your Women's Wrestling Wire. That's the website. The YouTube channel is youtube.com/belltobells. The Twitter account is @belltobells. Just do it. I don't know what you're waiting for. Just go and do it, pal. I'm working on characters for my one-man show. This one's called, I don't know what this one's called. I'm still workshopping the name. See, when I workshopped that at first, I was going for, people were like, call him Cletus. But I feel like that's kind of expected. Oh, my name is Cletus. And it's not funny. But if I were to call him, like Rembrandt, then that's kind of funny. Because he's like, oh, Rembrandt. Like, you don't look like a Rembrandt. That's the joke. I also got some t-shirts out there into the universe at whatamaneuver.net. There's a MrWarrenHayes Show shop where you can get some delicious designs designed by none other than the MrWarrenHayes Show host, Warren Hayes himself. So go check that out. And we've got lots of stuff coming up. The members only stream. See, I wanted to call it the post stream, but it's no longer a post stream. The members only stream Friday evenings is when I do it now. So we gather all the members of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show channel. We head on over. There's a nice little private stream just for them. And what do? What happens then? What's the good word? What's the occasion? We talk about professional wrestling. And that's what's happening tomorrow, Friday. If you're listening to this on Friday, we do this on Friday. So we're doing this tomorrow on Friday. And if you're going to come, just keep in mind that tomorrow, not the pre-stream, it's not a post-stream, the member stream, it's called Warren is Off the Clock. The Off the Clock stream is going to be at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 Central, immediately after All Elite Wrestling Rampage. So be sure to be there. And if you're not there yet, that means you're not a member. Become a member of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show. One, that shows a little support for what I do. And, it helps me buy pay-per-views and shit like that. So that's, it's cool. And then we get to hang around more. We get to talk about stuff, and we take, chat with the live chat with the Discord chat, and we also take calls from Discord members as well. So we can actually hear the sound of your voice. Some people like to say it is the Mr. Warren Hayes Show featuring Anakin JMT. That's a joke for the members. Come on in on those inside jokes. Become a member. It's a great way to show some support for the Mr. Warren Hayes Show. And you can also join them. You can also show some support via super chats, and I will read your question or comment live and on the air. And also, look, leaving a like, leaving a comment in the description, that kind of a comment, a like, those stuffs on YouTube help out tremendously. It's a big deal, and it's a simple way to do it. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Before we get into anything further at this point, some sad news that happened that came upon us a couple of days ago. Former WWE and WCW referee Mickey J passed away. He died on Monday evening due to complications from pneumonia related to COVID-19. Sucks. He was 59 years old at the time of his passing. He passed away at his home in Key West, Florida. Born Mickey J. Henson in 1963. He started refereeing in 1987 and Florida Championship Wrestling. He also wrestled a little bit as an enhancement talent in the WWF in the early 90s. He began refereeing with WCW in 1992, but was not brought over to WWE when they bought out the company in 2001. However, WWE did eventually hire him, where he worked for Raw, SmackDown, and ECW for nearly 4 years. He was the head official as well for both SmackDown and ECW as well. But he was removed from the road in 2008 due to health issues, and was released officially in 2009. If you were around at the time, and even before that in the 90s, in the 2000s, you definitely remember him. Our condolences to his entire family, of course. All right, so we're keeping this ball rolling. Let's go right into it. Here is this segment that we like to call here 52 Nice Things to Say About Goldberg.
Warren Hayes has 52 nice things to say about Goldberg.
If I had inhaled as much pyro smoke as he did, I don't think I would have made it to 50.
Warren Hayes has 52 nice things to say about Goldberg.
Oh ho! The weekly wrestling inspection. Hey, look at this. It's the Nerdy Mark who's joining us just as we're getting into the nitty gritty, into the thick of things, just as we start getting nice and toasty with the stuff that's going on about pro wrestling. Now, I know what you guys want to talk about, or at least hear me talk about. I know, but just before we do, there's just two little news bitey bites that I want to talk about before we get into the meat, before we get into the what's written at the top of the screen as the title of this podcast today. Josh Alexander, Impact star, revealed this week that his contract with Impact Wrestling has expired, but so has his U.S. work visa. So he was taken off the No Surrender show that's happening this weekend, if I'm not mistaken. He was taken off. Maybe some people thought it was part of a storyline, but no, he revealed on Twitter on Monday that his Impact Wrestling contract had expired, which also meant that his U.S. work visa had also expired. He's unable to work in the U.S. until all of this is resolved, and that fucking sucks, because he was also supposed to be at the Terminus show this week. Next week, I mean, and he won't be able to make it, which blows. He was supposed to be in a 4-way elimination match. So yeah, I mean, that really sucks. I think everyone sort of expected it to be an angle, but it's not. Look, but here's the thing. And I was chatting a little bit about this in the Discord. I didn't plug the Discord. What is wrong with me? Join the Mr. Warren Hayes Show Discord. The link is in the description. Come chat about professional wrestling in the most civilized way possible for wrestling fans to talk about professional wrestling. How's that for a caveat? Here's the thing. It's like, ultimately, Josh Alexander is going to be fine, right? He's going to be okay. He's not going to suddenly lose out his wrestling career, and he's not going to wait around at home. Good things are going to come out of this ultimately. Getting a work visa is there's a lot of paperwork involved. I know it was more complicated with the COVID restrictions, but our government this week announced that they're going to be, when I say the Canadian government, of course, announced that they're going to be reducing some of the requirements for travel going in and out of the country, like finally removing those stupid PCR pre-arrival tests, which was such a fucking bummer. So essentially, he's okay. He's going to be okay, and that's going to be fine. But you know what I got to think about was how much in disarray right now the wrestling scene in Canada is, because I'm like, Josh, just go do some dates. They'll be clamoring to get Josh Alexander, right? But I'm like, look, I'm thinking of who's running shows, and there's not that many people, but that's mostly because of how everything has been closed, like in restrictions across all the provinces, is again due to COVID. There's C4 Wrestling in Ottawa that's been trying to get some stuff going up off the ground, and it's just they've had to cancel shows. Now they have one set up for March 24th, which honestly, 24th or 25th, that Friday. I don't have my calendar on. Well, hopefully, I'd like to go. I'd like to head out there and be at that show. They've got Biff Busick who's going to be there, so that's a draw. But Quebec has a pretty good indie. The province of Quebec has a pretty good indie scene, but of course, like everything in Quebec, everyone does everything their own way in Quebec. So, but there's that at least. But Smash is not running anything. There's nothing really out west. There's a couple of shows in Alberta, but the Canadian wrestling scene is it's so desolate compared to what's happening in the US. And it's weird when you consider how much of a history Canada has with pro wrestling. It goes back to the territory days, right? Calgary, Toronto, Montreal, huge territories, and even once WWF back then started taking over and started buying up places, like there's a rich history of Canada in wrestling. And it's wild to me that the indie scene is so lackluster, because I don't want to say it sucks, because it doesn't, but it doesn't have the fangs. It doesn't have the presence. It doesn't have it doesn't have the outreach as compared to, you know, what happens down south. So kind of a bummer. One little news bite of note. We're starting to get a good idea of what the Ring of Honor Hall of Fame class is going to look like. The very first Hall of Fame class. Bryan Danielson was announced. The Briscoes were announced. Now this week, Samoa Joe. Now, if you ask me, this is how it should be shaping up, right? This makes tons of sense to me. These are critical players for Ring of Honor. I think it makes absolute 100% sense that it goes in that direction. We should, you know, maybe even start considering who else could we consider here? Like Christopher Daniels could also be an intrinsic part of this. AJ Styles, of course, but then you wonder, what will would WWE let AJ Styles go and be a part there, right? You know, there's so much stuff, right? Paul London, that's absolutely. These are critical guys, especially in the opening years of the company. These were critical human beings. So I'm still curious to see how this is going to develop. And, you know, I see in the chat we're talking about Amazing Red. Yes, of course. And I see in the chat we're talking about Xavier. I think Xavier is I think it's a shoo-in. I really do. I think he should be part of the initial class. But I see people talking about CM Punk, and I'm like, is he? I think he's inevitably a Hall of Famer. Like, I think he's inevitably a Hall of Famer for Ring of Honor. Out the gate, like first class, first year, there's a lot of ground to cover, you know? And I know if he comes in like year one, because you kind of want to keep some juice for year two and so on and so forth. And right now, like, to me, Danielson, the Briscoes, Samoa Joe, all makes perfect sense to me. Jimmy Jacobs should absolutely be in there too. But is he afraid? See, if you were to ask me, Warren, here's the last pick, we got to put someone in the first year, Jimmy Jacobs or Paul London. I'm like, holy shit. Paul London. I think Paul London before Jimmy Jacobs. Like, if you can put them both in at the same time, sure. But if you have to pick, if it's a desert island kind of thing, and Michael Shane too. Michael Shane, look, Danielson, the Briscoes, Samoa Joe, Michael Shane, Paul London, Xavier. That's a good first class. Because you've got the foundations, you've got the goddamn foundations of Ring of Honor, plus some of their more prominent and important stars. Hit the bricks with your... But the thing is like, low-key, probably, you know? Anyway. Are we getting into it? Are we going to talk about Cody Rhodes? Is this what we're doing? Is this what we're doing, folks? Because we're not going to sugarcoat this. We're not going to pretend and be facetious about it, or like as Mr. Fretz was telling us earlier on the pre-show. We're not going to sit around here and talk about how much of a betrayal this is. It was sort of be angry about it. No, we're going to approach this in the most, encompassing way, because let's not kid ourselves. This is the biggest news story in wrestling to happen since AEW was announced and was put together. There has not been, this is bigger than CM Punk returning. This is huge, and we are not going to sugarcoat this. This is a big fucking deal. In case you haven't heard, which it could be, I don't want to take for granted that anyone here listening, watching, like hangs around Twitter all day. God bless you if you don't. Cody Rhodes and Brandy Rhodes, part of the original AEW crew, along with the Young Bucks and Tony Khan, have left their promotion after failing to come to terms on a new contract with the company. Now, this has been something that's been going on for a few weeks now, right? It's 5-6 weeks. We were told that Cody, it was leaked on the internet that Cody was working without a contract. He was on a handshake deal since December, the end of December, right? Just before the new year. And I'm like, nah, get the fuck out of here. I was memeing on it. Are you kidding me? Free agent Cody Rhodes. Hit the bricks. Come on now. Like, no one was buying it. And why would you buy it? It didn't make sense. For the reasons I just said. He is one of the not just an OG, an AEW OG. He's part of the foundation. He helped build this company. He helped put it together. He was part of the brain trust that made AEW the thing that it was. I thought we were getting worked. Friends, lovers, countrymen. I thought we were getting worked. No way this was going down. My spidey senses were tingling up and down. We're going to read some stuff here. Because this is where we're at. Now, I'm telling you, even when the news started to leak a couple of days ago, and even when the statements were being put out, I was sitting there and I was like, that's a work. I couldn't believe it. I could not sit back and be like, yeah, just gobble this all up. None of it made sense. But we're going to read some stuff here. This is from one journalist named David Meltzer from the Wrestling Observer. Until the negotiations fell apart on Monday, most of the top people in AEW were not aware anything was up and figured both Cody and Brandy were staying. Several were surprised and didn't know anything until the day of. But one person did tell us that he never thought it would happen when Rhodes' contract expired. That person did actually know this was coming for a few weeks and categorized it as unhappiness, even though everyone said that the EVPs were getting along the best they have in a long time. They were working last week on projects for the future. One person close to the situation used the term, quote, heartbroken, but didn't know the machinations of the split. This boggles my mind, and it should. The ramifications of this, I think they're so much bigger than just, will he show up at WrestleMania or not? Is he going to be in the elimination? Like that shit is ancillary. But I think I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's think about this for a second. Cody Rhodes, a victim of poor WWE creative, stuck in the mid-card, leaves the company, asks for his release, and it is granted. A guy who left WWE, and everyone just sort of gave a collective shrug. Because it's like, oh, Stardust is gone. Sure, whatever. He did Ring of Honor. He did New Japan. He rebuilt himself on the indies. Became a part of Bullet Club. Leveraged a grassroots campaign to elevate himself and his pals in the meantime via BTE stuff, their special connection with the fans, going after that fandom there, talking with people, creating connections with people, business connections. And then at some point saying, you know what? We are going to put on an indie super show. I can fill the Sears Center, rip. I can fit, because the name changed, right? I don't remember what the name is. That was what the rip was for. Cody's not dead. He says, I can do this without the backing of a major promotion. I can do this just with indie talent because the indie situation in North America right now is thrilling. There's people who want to work, and there are people who want to see these people work. It's just exciting. Let's do it. And he puts on the show. It sells out. It's a raging success. It becomes the template for what we know now as AEW. A guy who told us he would start a revolution, and goddamn it, no one doubted him. When I say no one, that's a bit... Most people believed him. AEW changed the landscape of the business. And AEW would not have happened the way it did if Cody Rhodes wasn't at the forefront of it. It honestly would not have been. Would have got something completely different if it was Matt Jackson doing this. Or Kenny Omega. He is bigger, excuse me, he is bigger now than he has ever been. Because people are saying, have him show up at WrestleMania, have him be the surprise opponent to Stone Cold, all that. That's how big this guy has become. He's a top name for AEW. He was a draw. Hang on. I think I'm getting ahead of myself. But he was someone that he was an important talent for the company. He was a symbol, and most importantly, and this is for the rest of this essay, I want you to remember these exact words. He is a symbol of this transformation, this moving away from the business of WWE into creating another company, another alternative, creating legitimate competition. He's a symbol. AK Germany left us a super chat, but I'll get back to it. It's super relevant, but I'll get back to it in a second. Thank you, by the way. But I'll get back to it. Trust me. So I can definitely see Cody like sitting down, right? He's sitting down with Tony Khan, and he's got all this leverage. Because don't forget, we're talking, AEW is one thing, but he had his reality show. He had the Go Big Show home show, the Big Show home, the home show of the Go Home Big Show. I don't know what it's called. The one with Rosario Dawson. Is she still even on that? I don't know. But the idea here, this is how it, and Road to the Top was renewed for a second season. Now, TNT, of course, 100% of course, looks at AEW and is like, what kind of content can you create for us? Then asks people, then turns to AEW and says, what kind of extra content can you create for us? Give us more, like you're on our network, you're our property. Tony Khan says, I can give you a reality show. We can cross-pollinate. I can send one of my guys to one of your other shows, because that's what the network wants. It wants to use its other shows to drain people onto these other shows and vice versa. That's how TV works in these days. So all of this makes sense. So Cody's like, I have all of this. I have this kind of leverage on top of that. Plus, we discovered this week that most of these contracts that the top guys in AEW have, they have options. Chris Jericho, the Bucks, they have options. They're all for, I think it was all for 3 years, maybe outside of Kenny Omega, but they all have options that Tony Khan can call on. It's like, I'm keeping you an extra year. So one would assume that Cody would have one of these options in his contract as well. And as AK Germany 96 points out in his super chat, thank you very much, by the way, AK. Says, I'm surprised they didn't do a short extension till the pay-per-view. I'm going to miss Cody. He was fantastic in year 1 of AEW. People forget that. Thank you very much for the super chat. And yet, like, I believe that a lot of people forget how more than year 1, the TNT title reign, how quintessential it was to the company, because the reverberations of that title reign are still very, very much felt today. But we'll talk about that in a bit, because the focus that I want to talk about here is the short extension you're mentioning, or even activating the option, right? And this, to me, is the biggest tell of this situation. This is the tell where it's like they were just unable. There's a level of unhappiness, I think, that can be gleaned out of this. I don't have any backstage information. I'm sitting here, I'm drinking some blue Gatorade, and I'm shooting the shit here. But for the boss to not even activate an option and be like, look, you want to go. Sure, money was probably a factor, most probably. I've read some stuff online, of course, where it's like Cody wanted to make as much as CM Punk did, or as Bryan Danielson is making, right? That's fine. One would argue, is Cody Rhodes as big a star as CM Punk and Bryan Danielson? I think we could have a very, very interesting panel discussion on that. I think all sorts of opinions are valid in this type of situation. If you were to ask me, unchallenged, unprompted, I would say no. Cody Rhodes is not as big a star as CM Punk or Bryan Danielson. I don't think he's on that level of a draw. I really don't. I don't even think he's on the level of a Jon Moxley, to be perfectly honest. Or Kenny Omega, who are specifically people that I sincerely believe people buy tickets to go see, ergo the definition of a draw, which I don't think Cody was anymore at least. Maybe there was a time, but I don't think that's what it is. So the point being, going through AK's point here, I think there has been, I think this is a testament to some sort of disconnect with Tony Khan, unhappiness overall in the direction of where things were going, maybe how the promotion was going, or his own character was going as well, because these are all the elements that I'm not sure. Of course, we don't know, but it kind of does give you that impression that there was more going on here. Because don't kid yourselves. AEW is the Tony Khan show. And it has been the Tony Khan show since January 2020. I don't know if you all remember the dismal end of 2019 that Dynamite had. I don't know if you remember. And this was at a time where people were saying, oh, the creative process between everyone sits at the table and there's a lot of free exchange of ideas and everyone goes around like this and that. And then we got to December 2019 and we're like, man, these shows are starting to stink. There's no direction. It was all over the place, and there were some ideas that were being pushed and we just was like, what the hell are we watching right now? And then in 2020, we come back, you start hearing reports that, oh, Tony Khan has taken over all aspects of creative, and then boom, the show is on rails. And it's just like bang, 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 bang. It's just dynamite, dynamite, dynamite. And I'm being, a dynamite, 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 dynamite. It's his show. So if Cody probably still had some inputs, so on and so forth, sure. But probably not on the level that he wanted. Probably not on the level that he had. One would even go as far as to say. It's like maybe he even had a little more than that. I don't think this was all about money. Of course, if he's going to McMahon land and joining Vince's house of beefed up beefcakes, of course, he's going to get the bag, as the kids like to say these days. I sound old when I say that, don't I? But it's true. If he goes there, he's getting a big payday. And I think Cody is smart enough to know that he's a cog in the wheel. And he's just, as he said before multiple times, it's kind of became his catchphrase. He bet on himself again. It's like, I'm going to go over there and I'm going to do the WWE shit, but in a much better position than I was in the past. And good for him. Now, what does Vince see in Cody Rhodes? Right? See, he's a spoke on the wheel, as chat says. Does Vince see something in Cody now? Because he sure as hell didn't see it back in the day. Maybe. At first, for sure. Why? Because Cody, as I said, is a symbol. And Vince is going to take great pleasure in flaunting the fact that he converted one of the generals of the opposing army, right? That they defected and they came back to the one place that matters, right? This is the top thing for him, right? So that's what, out of the gate, Vince McMahon sees this as an opportunity. Do you think Vince watches AEW though? Do you think he's gonna, he's looking at everything Cody was doing and is like, oh, we could do this here? Vince doesn't even watch NXT. So no. He has no clue how Cody's been portrayed. And he doesn't care. Because at this point, the Cody signing for Vince is all about optics. Like I said, we grabbed one of the founders. He came back home. He said to himself, I can go do it better somewhere else. But no, he came back to Vince because I run the top promotion in the world. This is what I am. And the grass is always greener on Vince's side of the road. Or yard, because roads are usually paved. I'm getting off track. But that's the point. Is Vince will indeed talk about optics. Because that is one thing that WWE is most concerned of. That's the one thing that they are in the business of. That is optics. Making sure that they look good or not too bad. That's the one thing that they have always been specialists in. Vince is like, I made $1 billion last year. I make the rules. You want to come here, Cody? That's fine, but you're gonna play by my rules. Whatever. If Cody has any aspirations, you guys know what kind of environment he's going to have to sift through to even start sniffing any kind of real power in that company. Vince doesn't care about, he's going to care until the Cody sheen is gone. And then Cody, you know what? My official prediction, Cody Rhodes is going to become the highest paid mid-carder in WWE. And I'm not even trying to make Cody is my favorite mid-carder joke here. That's literally what I think. I think he's going to be, I think that's exactly what he's going to be. Hey, Pluggo, nice to see you. Welcome to the chat. Now.
Oh, yeah.
AK Germany 96 left us a super chat. Thank you very much. He says, wait till Vince discovers Cody's stupid tattoo. Cody Rhodes wrestles only in turtlenecks moving forward, guys. Oh, fuck. He doesn't want Kevin Owens to wrestle without a t-shirt on, so. We know how Vince can get. Here's something that Cody could potentially be, though. A talent drain. He could potentially, and I'm not saying that it's going to happen, but he could potentially be a talent drain for AEW. Starting to get guys and gals in from the other company, bring them in, when their contracts start expiring, or they request their releases or whatever. You never know. Cody becomes a pipeline into the company. Maybe some guys sort of and gals are like, oh no, okay. Well, if Cody did it, I can do it too. Sometimes it only takes one person, right? I could see that, despite the fact that I don't think WWE cares about bringing in pro wrestlers because they're not interested in pro wrestlers anymore. We see the state of NXT right now. We see what they're doing in the Performance Center. They're hiring gymnasts, athletes, college sports athletes. That's what they're doing now. They're not bringing. They fired all the wrestlers. They fired all the indie stars outside of a handful of them. Keith Lee, for fuck's sake. I'm not going back on that. But the point is that they don't care about pro wrestlers. But if Cody can spot a couple, and it's like, why not open the door for MJF? I'm not saying it's going to happen, but it could happen. And the point being is that WWE doesn't care about pro wrestlers or putting people on TV, but I can damn well tell you that Vince McMahon cares about sticking it to his competition. If Vince has an opportunity to start draining AEW of its top people, he will take it, even if it means sitting their ass down in catering and leaving them there. Do you know why I think he'll do that? He can do that because he's done it before. And he'll do it again if you give him the opportunity. So maybe Cody, can become this. Maybe Cody can become this. I don't want to. It's not a mole, but a drain, a pipeline of talent. But it's not because the grass is suddenly going to become greener in WWE's side. It's because Vince wants to starve the competition. I talked about it a bit, but I still want to read this bit from Meltzer's article. Tony Khan said that he had options on all the key talent for 2022. Rhodes did have an option year and possibly a 2-year one, so it would have been Khan's call not to exercise it. While we don't know if the Rhodes' deals are different, the big key original deals with the Young Bucks and Chris Jericho were all for 3 years, meaning they would all end this year, plus an option period. The Bucks and Jericho's options were picked up, and they are still with the company. Kenny Omega's first deal was for 4 years. Chris Jericho was the highest money deal in the company until CM Punk came in at what was believed to have been the same level of money. So again, like I said a little earlier before, this is Tony Khan's show now. And I think what this also exposes here is that the call for the call for the title of EVP in AEW is absolutely meaningless. It doesn't mean anything. It's just like titles that they slapped on each other, and because we started the company, we had some sort of investment in it. EVP is in name only. Ultimately, it will always be about the talent. It will always be about the creativity. It will also always be what they do on TV moving forward. I think Tony Khan in this situation here probably sent a message to the rest of the locker room, because there is a message here. No one is above me. And that's okay, because he's the boss. He's the he's not an EVP. He's not a VP. He's the P. He's the CEO. He's the head of creative. He should be the last guy that everyone answers to. And he's like, the message that this sends to the locker room, for good or ill, mind you, is no one is bigger in this company than I am. If Cody and I can't come eye to eye to find something that works for both of us, I'll tell him to hit the bricks. And, talking about contract release season and so on and so forth, if there's one thing that has changed tremendously in WWE over the past couple of years, especially in 2021, is release season in WWE, right? You get to, post WrestleMania season, or, like around the holidays, and there would always be periods where they'd be letting some people go, right? So what does that mean is that everyone sort of, works extra hard, wants to really get things done. They want to make sure that they can secure a place so that they don't get, so that they're not part of the, the annual or biannual roster cuts, depending on the period, right? There hasn't been this situation in AEW, right? There hasn't been this moment yet where people are like, oh no, people are leaving. Or people should be worried for their jobs. But this is where we're at right now. This is what Tony Khan is setting out. He's saying, look, this is a company. It's a business I'm running. If you aren't contributing to my bottom line, if you aren't making strides to better the company that I am running, there's the door. You run with my vision or you don't. And I think this has been a wake-up call, and again, to the point that Mr. Freds was making earlier, where it's like, Cody betrayed us, so on and so forth. This goes to the point that AEW overall, I think that a lot of fans are getting this very, very... AEW fans are getting this shaking wake-up call, where for the past... Since 2019... it's been like one big happy family, and people are getting along so well backstage, and look at all these great vlogs, and everyone's smiling and having a good time, and the atmosphere looks great. And you get reports that the morale is so good, and no one ever leaks any news to the dirt sheets because everyone is happy, and people leak shit when they're not happy. So everything's peaches and cream. But now we're getting the wake-up call. We're getting shook here. This isn't a family. It's a business. People are in this to make money. Got to go on TV, got to give good matches, got to put on a good 2 hours of wrestling every Wednesday night so that the network will keep us on and give us money. so that we can continue making these shows and paying your salaries. That's how it goes. So I think some of the friends, not the friends, but I think some of the very visceral reactions we're seeing from AEW fans is coming from the snap of perception being shattered a little bit, now realizing that it's a company, it's a business, and it's going to be run like a business. It's not it's not a community center for wrestlers. It's a business. That's my main takeaway from all of this. This is Tony Khan's show. Now, let's say that this is the end. If this is indeed the end of Cody Rhodes in AEW, which I don't think it is, FYI. But let's say, if this is the end of Cody Rhodes in AEW, what's his legacy? I believe Cody Rhodes' legacy to AEW is the creation of stars for that company. And I know he gets, and I've been an advocate, a defendant of Cody Rhodes' booking in AEW. Because I know a lot of people say, of course, Cody wins lull, he buries everyone, doesn't put anyone over, while it is objectively the complete opposite. MJF, Darby Allin, Brody Lee, Malachi Black, Sammy Guevara, Eddie Kingston, Ricky Starks got jobs off of performances that they did with him for the TNT title. These are all people that he made, that he created. His whole thing with Anthony Ogogo, I would absolutely argue that that was the beginning of the end of top babyface Cody Rhodes right there. Absolutely 100%. I buy into it. That promo, the whole 9 yards with the Anthony Ogogo bullshit, I think that was ill-advised. But during his whole, that whole thing with the split, with QT Marshall going his own way from the Nightmare family, going off on his own, we got to see Nick Comoroto. We got to see Aaron Solo. We got to see Anthony Ogogo in a position, even though, aren't necessarily on the level of Darby Allin these days, but still a focus on other guys, which has always been a strength of this company. He effectively made Brody Lee special by eating a pile of shit in his TNT title defense against Brody Lee, the first one. Cody got zero offense in that match. Brody Lee was made. Malachi Black made. Darby Allin, the story of Darby Allin and Cody Rhodes led to the TNT title. His brilliant match with his brother. And now he goes out, he leaves the company flat on his back, Sammy Guevara looking like a star. I am not going to sit here and entertain anyone telling me Cody Rhodes never put anyone over, was always in it for himself. He built the foundations for this company. Now he's gone, and the company is fine without him. Look, I don't blame him to be like, I'm lost in the shuffle, right? Chris Jericho, maybe, but CM Punk, Danielson, hell, I'd even say Adam Cole, all coming in, and he's like, where's my spot? I've been here from the start. Kenny Omega's still around. Kenny's huge. He's gonna be huge when he comes back. Hangman Page, what are you talking about? This is what is potentially going to come down. I keep telling you how much of a strong mid-card AEW has. Upper mid-card, lower mid-card, top to bottom. You want to see all these people wrestle. You do. Because they're treated as people you want to see. But as we move along, this is what it's going to turn into. It's going to turn into people just out of ego, because out of the conscience for their own career, they're going to want to move on. But Cody's legacy in AEW, you kidding me? Untouchable. We still got some stuff to talk about. I want to talk about the Warrior Wrestling show, Warrior Wrestling 19 from this weekend. We are going to talk about AEW Rampage and Dynamite. But first, I want to switch gears, just leave the AEW bubble for a little bit. This week, report, I think it's Fightful, right, that came out with it first. There have been rumors, big rumors, that WWE has reached out to Stone Cold Steve Austin for one more match. Say it with me, one more match. Let it back, one more match. Just the girls, one more match. In fact, the match between Stone Cold Steve Austin and Kevin Owens is being discussed for this year's WrestleMania, which is, of course, April 2nd and 3rd, just in a couple of weeks, folks. It would be Austin's first match since WrestleMania in 2003. WrestleMania, I'm terrible. 19? Is that the... I'm terrible with Roman numerals. I think that's what it is. 19. Where he lost to The Rock, right? Austin retired from in-ring competition all the way back in 2003 due to neck injuries originally stemming from that botched piledriver from Owen Hart at SummerSlam 97. In recent years, he has made sporadic appearances on WWE programming, and he has his own podcast, of course. So he's never really, well, not never, but recently he has been a lot more present on WWE programming for a while. Now, there are even rumors that this might not be a one-off, that he might be coming in for like a little extended stay. And honestly, look, let's be honest with each other. If the guy is good to go, and he's willing, he's capable of getting back into the ring, why would you turn that down? It would make absolutely no sense. Like, I don't care who, I don't care if I'm running WWE or whatever. If Stone Cold Steve Austin can go and is available, you put that guy in the ring. And it's just that simple. And people, you know, they're like, oh, he's broken down. Well, we don't know. This is what's completely fantastical when I hear this kind of bullshit. It's like, he's broken. He's out of the way. We've seen in the past 3 years so many older wrestlers who were told, your injuries, man, they're keeping you from the ring. You're done. Come back. I don't know what kind of magic rehabilitation. I don't know what, Rey Mysterio has in his stem cells. I have no idea. Sting, Sting, Edge, Bryan Danielson, all people who were told, you will never wrestle again. You are done. Rey Mysterio, since coming back in this WWE run here, he has not looked this good since his WCW Cruiserweight days. His previous to last WWE run was shit. And he comes back and you're like, what the hell is going on? Christian, yes, thank you, Anakin, in the chat. Christian is another fantastic example. And then you've got guys on the indies too. You've got fucking Ricky Morton working, doing indie shows, pulling Canadian destroyers out of his ass. These are all people who Vince said, you can't do it anymore. Well, maybe not Ricky Morton, but it's like, and now we're flipping the script. We're coming around. So if Austin has been rehabilitated and can go, I don't see why you wouldn't want that. who in there, as a wrestling fan, would not want that? Now, someone challenged me a couple of days ago on Twitter. It was like having some back and forth. And ended up asking me, Warren, who would you like to see? Who would you like to see Steve Austin wrestle? What would be who should we wrestle on his comeback? And I'm like, I'm always approaching this with caution, and was the same thing with Sting. I want to see him wrestle before I start dream matching. Before now, I'm like, oh, we've got this. We got this. This is what Stone Cold is able to do now. This is the level that he's able to go. Oh, well, he should do this, and that. I need to see him go before I get any more invested in it. And that's just me. That's just me, because if he comes back and he wrestles like, and if he wrestles like The Undertaker. No, hang on. Better example than that, especially if he comes back and he's wrestling like Kaiji Muto. Okay? If he comes back and he's wrestling like 2021 Great Muta, Kaiji Muto, I don't want any part of it. And I'm going to sit here. I promise you guys, if Austin can't go, he's got no cardio, his knees are broken, his timing is off. I'm going to sit here, right here in front of you, and I'm going to tell you Stone Cold needs to step away. He's hurting his legacy. But if it's the opposite that happens, I'll sit right here and I'll tell you, I want Stone Cold and Brock. I promise you that. If he can go, that's the match I want. I want Stone Cold and Brock Lesnar. Because that's the one we were cheated out of. That's the one we should get. Because I'm telling you, because Kaiji Muto came back to Noah. Well, came back to wrestling and went to Noah. And in the year 2021 was the GHC World Heavyweight Champion, which is their top prize, right? And if you've never watched a Noah show, this is your work rate promotion, right? This is the one where I nerd out at the shit that they're doing, the pace they're going, how much they're laying into each other. It's a physical promotion. Like, the guys wail on each other. It's so good. But then your champion is Kaiji Muto, who's got no more knees. The guy can't walk because his knees have been shot for years. He's got no cardio. He blows up in a second. And everything looks bad. His entire arsenal just looks like shit. And when you go back and you look at Great Muta from 1995, or his run in the early 2000s, you're like, that's the guy you want to remember, not this guy here, not 2021 world champion Kaiji Muto, who's burying the younger guys because they're fighting him while they're on the undercard. They're slapping the shit out of each other and just like drilling each other, dumping each other on their necks. Muto lands an elbow and suddenly they're dead. Like, come on, fuck off. There's so much suspension of disbelief that you can take. So that's my point. Bring Austin back as long as he can go. Because if there's one thing that the legacy of Stone Cold Steve Austin has to this point here, is that we all know his career is unfinished. He retired before his time. The injuries are unfortunate, and the reasons that prompted his injuries were a shame. Right? But all we have is great memories. All we have is great memories of the ass kicker, the brawler, the guy who could just light up the audience, right? Jaw jacking, the attitude. I'm excited to a degree because there's a lot of apprehension going into this. Because we don't know in what state he is right now. We don't know what his physical state is. We don't know how much he's ready to go. And the thing here, let's not forget, Vince is desperate. Vince is desperate to get people on his big show, right? We can't forget that. This is what's wild to me. You'll spend an entire year watching World Wrestling Entertainment, watching them give you superstars like, Big E and Drew McIntyre and Roman Reigns and, Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair to come 2 months in the space of a fiscal quarter, just have everything upended and be like, nah, look, you've got Brock, you've got Ronda, you've got Stone Cold. And you sort of forget everything else. Like everything else that you were trying to build, suddenly it becomes no longer part of the attraction. It's like the filler, because here's the attraction. This is what we want you to see. This is what we want you to watch. These people here. They're going to come in here for a couple of months and then they'll hit the bricks. It's terribly frustrating to get invested in people, to get invested in these storylines where all year you're told, oh, let it play out. Let's see how this goes. And just give it some time. And then you get to the event and you're not getting the people that you were supposed to be invested in. You're getting outsiders, you're getting part-timers, you get whatever you want to call them, And it's frustrating as a fan. But then I understand why Vince does it. Because then it's like, who's your big star? Who's going to draw people? What is it, like 40,000 seats? I'm sure someone in the chat can check this out. I think the stadium is like 40,000 seats and you got to fill them up for 2 nights. You're not going to do that exclusively on the back of Roman Reigns, who has and Brock Lesnar. You can't. I'm sure someone will check. Hey, look at this. It's Kristen Ashley, the first lady of the MrWarrenHayes show. Yeah. Hello, Kristen. Everyone say hello to Kristen. Anyway. That being said, look, Stone Cold, I'm excited for it. I think it's exciting. I think it's great. I think it exposes WWE. And apparently there's another Austin level surprise in the works, right? Is it The Rock? I don't think The Rock. I don't think The Rock. No way The Rock is wrestling. I know a lot of people are like, WrestleMania 39, it's going to be Roman and The Rock. The Rock is not wrestling. Because The Rock is in a position where WWE needs him more than they need, where WWE needs him more than he needs them. Absolutely, 100%. And you know who else is going to be in that position? 3 years. I give it 3 years. Sasha Banks. Sasha Banks is already too big for the Fed. She's already too big for the Fed. In 3 years, they're going to be begging her to come back to do an appearance. And they have her right now. She is right now full-time, healthy, on a roster. They don't know what the fuck to do with Sasha Banks. How is Sasha Banks not already... How does she not have a top match slated for WrestleMania at this point? I promise you guys, let's have this conversation in 3 years and I will pull up this clip. In 3 years' time, WWE will be like, Sasha, please come back. Just one night. And Sasha will be like, it's boss time. But you know what? Here's the thing. You know what? I'm going to tell you. This is what we learned this week, right? Minoru Suzuki is coming back to North America and he's going to be in Dallas WrestleMania weekend working the indies. Okay? The very fact that we have Stone Cold Steve Austin returning to the ring the same weekend that Minoru Suzuki is in the same city as him, and we are not going to have a match between them both, proves to me that no one wants my money hard enough. That they don't really want my money all that much. That we don't really, or your money, or your money, or your money. Like, that to me is a tragedy. This is what politics and ego does to us, to you, the wrestling fan. It keeps you away from Stone Cold Steve Austin and Minoru Suzuki in a ring together, beating the shit out of each other. AEW Rampage. Start with that. I thought it was one of these middling. I thought it was one of these middling AEW Rampages. Look, these were my notes for one match, and this was for the rest of the show. So that'll give you an indication. So I'm not going to spend much time on it because I think there's more juicy bits to talk about in regards to last night's Dynamite. But Trent Beretta versus Nick Jackson was a lot of fun. Sorry. The Young Bucks versus Roppongi Vice. Get it right, Morin. That was really good. That was a lot of fun. It felt like a good old fashioned Japanese structured match. Not gonna lie. There was a lot of good stuff here. Of course, Nick Jackson, one of the MVPs here, hits an Asai moonsault early on. Danhausen is under the ring again, clear, and he curses the Young Bucks, and they get cursed with dives from Trent and Rocky Romero. The Young Bucks get back in control with double power bombs against the Apron, which was a really nice spot. There's a doomsday knee strike on the floor by the Roppongi boys. German suplexes everywhere. An avalanche belly to back by Trent. Strong Zero can't put the Young Bucks away. They hit a Meltzer driver. BT Trigger does the job. And after the match, the Elite fight off Orange Cassidy, who was there. Of course, it was a big best friends thing. And Jay White comes in and starts Blade Runnering everyone in sight. Well, maybe not everyone. Trent. But we're getting our boy, the King Switch, Jay White on Friday night. I'm really glad. I am really, really glad that our boy Jay White is getting some love on the North American market, that he's able, because I'm convinced, I'm sure he's happy to just be here and working dates, doing arenas, getting paid, because the New Japan staff, they all took the talent, they all took a pay cut because of the poor receipts that happened in 2021 in New Japan. We haven't seen the financials yet. They should be coming out soon. I feel like it's in February usually that they plop those out. We haven't seen it yet. Of course, we're only halfway. Well, I mean, there's about 10 days left to the month. There is only 28 days. But my point being is, I'm sure Jay White is making up a lot of the money that he's losing by working these dates here. So good for him. Very, very, very much good for him. And that means we get to see him on Dynamite. I'm fine with that. Bullet Club teases, all the good shit. All the good shit. And Cody had to leave. You're not gonna be in Bullet Club anymore, Cody. Fuck you. Britt Baker versus Robin Renegade was a match that happened. I don't understand I don't get the Renegade twins. Look, I get them to the degree that I think they have a very solid presentation, but I think they're very green. I don't get it. Because they're tag the Renegade twins are tag team champions in Mission Pro, and there's a lot of there's a pretty good push behind them. I don't see it. I don't understand it. Anyway, Britt gets the win. Rosa runs out after as well. Hayter comes in. Anyway, look. This is all stuff we're going to talk about in a little bit. Hook destroyed Blake Lee, which was a lot of fun. QT Marshall is there as well. It's a big old showcase, of course. And Dino 210 defeated the Ass Boys. I am really glad this feud is over, because I was anticipating this continuing like into Revolution. I was like, because I know a lot of people are real excited about the gun kids, right? Colton and Ricky and Austin. Ricky Gunn actually, I'd get behind. I could support someone called Ricky Gunn, not gonna lie. They don't do it for me. They really don't do it for me. So, if the Ass Boys can be set aside and, go back to doing shit on Dark, fantastic stuff. Let's talk about AEW Dynamite, which opened up with a promo. Opened up with a promo again this week. There's always this thing where it's like I'm gonna bitch about it because I bitch about it for the other guys, and I don't want my favorite wrestling show to turn into the other guys, because there's a reason why this is my favorite wrestling show as opposed to anything that the other guys do. It's because they give me wrestling. And I've said this before, and I'll say it a million times. Wrestling fans are the only people who sit down to watch their show and will accept that the show doesn't start with what they wanted to watch. Imagine watching. This is always the example I give. Imagine you sitting down to watch a sitcom or a stand-up comedian, and for the first 20 minutes, there's not a single joke that happens. And again, not an attempt at a joke, not jokes that don't land. I mean, he's not or she's not giving you a single joke. She's reading poetry. She's doing pottery. She's doing anything else than doing the thing you're watching them that you want them to do. I don't understand. So, and honestly, it's a full segment. We got CM Punk cross-legged sitting in the ring. Oh, is he doing a pipe bomb? No, he's got kinky dog collars in a heart-shaped box. That's what he's got. I can't get excited for this. I'm sorry, I can't. Because then the excuse people pull out when I complain about it is they tell me, well, at least it was good, Warren. Was it? Was it? Was it good? Was it really good? Because when Roman Reigns does his 10-minute Friday night promos, his soliloquies, I'm told, yeah, but Warren, at least it's good. Is it? Is it? All I can base myself on is my tastes. What I want out of a wrestling show. And sitting down at 8 p.m. turning on TSN2. This week was TSN3 because of the goddamn Winter Olympics. To watch Dynamite. I don't want CM Punk sitting down to deliver a promo. There is nothing more low energy than someone sitting down in a wrestling ring to cut a promo. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But it's not. It baffles my mind. And this is where I see the lines being drawn. This is where I start saying, oh, well, okay, well, you're saying this because it's AEW, but in reality, you know, Roman pulls the same shit every Friday night and you shit all over it. Well, because it's CM Punk? Okay, fine. But I don't watch wrestling. I don't want to sit down to watch a wrestling show to listen to people talk. I don't. And Dynamite, I say this, I've been saying this a lot now because Dynamite's been starting with a lot of promos recently. Dynamite started off hot because it would always start with a match and a hot match. Bookended, awesome match to start, awesome match to end to main event. And then in between you do all sorts of shit. There are always I'm going to hammer this home just to make sure, just in case you're hearing me rant about this for the first time. If Dynamite keeps doing this, won't be the last time I'm going to talk about it, trust me. There are always exceptions. If there's something that you really, that's really crucial and important that you need to get out of the way, that you're like, look, there is no other way to start this show than with this guy or this gal coming out with a microphone and telling us, there are situations like that. CM Punk's return at the United Center in Chicago, there was no other way to start it off. John Moxley returning after taking a break to rehab to get clean. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Those are spot on. Absolutely spot on. But CM Punk continuing to further his feud with MJF at the start of the show, opening without anything else happening, and in a cold open as well. A cold, like you don't even get the explosions and the Dynamite shit. That there was no reason to start with it. Start with Wardlow, if anything, if you just want to get something out of the way. Everyone loves Wardlow. I'll sit down and be like, oh, cool. I get to watch Wardlow crush a dude. And that's fantastic. Start with Danielson and Moriarty, which is the match everyone was talking about this week. Kick that one off. It was so... He starts talking about the past again. Talking about, look, I like the Piper and Oregon Be My Valentine line. I liked it as much as anyone who's into old school wrestling. I thought it was a clever line. Well done. But, I mean, it doesn't change the fact that MJF and CM Punk have been essentially saying the same things at each other week after week after week. The week it gets exciting is when they start fighting each other. When they had that tag team match, brilliant storytelling there that led up to their match. Brilliant. And I'm already on the fence on them having another blow-off, right? I talked about this last week. I'm already on the fence of these two having another match. And we're still going to do this? More stuff about the past, about how MJF has grown, and now, you know, you want to be like this, you know, all stuff that they've been, it's been the same, it's the same lake they've been paddling in. And yet there are all sorts of streams coming in, but they're staying in the same lake. And you know what? It's always like, you know, oh, you used to be a dork back in the day. You used to, you know, you were such a mark for wrestlers. You were on Rosie O'Donnell. What does he do this week? He pulls out the picture of him and MJF when MJF was a kid at a signing somewhere that we all saw on the internet. And I'm like, well, because it's always like, how are we going to embarrass Maxwell this week? It's always that. It's always the same thing. And MJF just storms off like we don't even get a response. There's nothing. I'm like, I love their match. I love the match they gave 2 weeks ago. It is one of my favorite matches of the year so far. I thought it was brilliant. A 30-minute television match like that level of quality is excellent. Don't get me wrong. I think the talking is too much. I think the talking is too much. Want to say hello to Carlito Caribbean Cool. Left us a $2, who left us a $2 super chat and a sticker of an apple. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Anyway, I want to move on because I'm just rehashing, but it's extremely frustrating for me. Bryan Danielson defeated Lee Moriarty in a fantastic match. This ruled. Bryan Danielson is a dick. And you know what? He can be a dick. Do you know why? Because he's the greatest wrestler of our generation. No one tops it. And it took him leaving World Wrestling Entertainment to reconfirm this. He's come back and he is better than he has been in the past 10 years. Absolutely spectacular stuff. Romero special on Moriarty. Danielson does the corner flip, but he eats a lariat by Lee. Danielson wraps up Lee in the ropes and starts kicking him, and it's just fantastic stuff. They've grapevined each other, and they end up on their heads while their legs are grapevine, and then they start slapping each other. And I'm like, Lee does a Saito suplex that JR calls awkward. And I'm like, JR, that was a Saito. Oh, that was very, and he gets into this voice where he's like, well, that was very awkward by Lee. And what are you trying to do? You know, he should, and he's getting in. I feel like he breaks out of his commentator voice, and now he's sort of like, you know, admonishing him. And I'm like, hit the bricks, pal. Put these people over. That's your job. Especially the young guys. You've got a young guy hanging with one of the greatest of all time. Put that over. And it wasn't an awkward suplex, it was a Saito suplex. Jesus Christ. Moriarty has some rocking forearm shots as well. He goes for the Border City stretch, and Danielson reverses it into a regal plex, and I'm sitting here, and I'm going, I'm just pouring water. I'm like, my God, man, wrestling is good. I just love it. The Busaiku knee connects, and he grabs Lee's wrists, and he starts stomping his head in, falls back into a figure 4 head scissors, and he flexes. He does the double biceps. I'm looking at all of this, and I'm like, oh, what it's perfect. It's perfect. Danielson, the dick, The master. He's the greatest, he's the greatest American wrestler of the past 25 years. And he's acting like it. I loved it. And then you get yourself a promo. Then this is how you make a talk segment work. You make it feel important. You make it all connect. Because Danielson grabs the mic and he calls out Jon Moxley because he wants an answer. Jon Moxley comes out and he's ready. He's got that. Christ, Moxley's great. Let's just lay it out there. We're name dropping Tracy Smothers on national television. Brought a tear to my eye. Moxley says he and Danielson fought for the first time when Danielson arrived late at a show. And he lost. And he took on Danielson time and time again. And he's always come up short, right? And he imagines all the heads that they could cave in and the arms that they could stomp if they worked together, right? Because that's what Danielson wants. He wants his responses. What about my offer, right? He couldn't think of one good reason to say no, but then he got to thinking. Then he got thinking. Is the only reason Daniel Bryan wants to stand side by side with Jon Moxley is because he doesn't want to find himself standing across the ring from him. So that Jon Moxley can do to Bryan Danielson what he's been doing to everyone else in the company for the past 3 years. So, Jon Moxley, ever the tease, saying, I'm not saying no, but he doesn't stand side by side with nobody until he bleeds with them first. Shivers. What a fucking line. This, folks, is why I get pissed off when Dynamite starts with a promo. Because you get one here, you have guys on this roster top to bottom who can cut promos like geniuses. CM Punk, MJF, Jon Moxley, they're all in the same boat. Okay? As far as promos go, they could, on varying degrees, but these are all guys that you can just say, sell me the match, and he'll go do it, okay? The match happens, there's this natural flow, Danielson comes off of a victory, and he's like, I want Jon Moxley to come out here, and Jon Moxley comes out, and he's like, and it all progresses to that fucking line. That's how you tell your story. This is a promo. I am sold on this match that they're doing. And on top of that, the match, sure. But I want this Danielson Moxley dojo. I want it. I want them to work together. I want them to get Moriarty and Garcia and Yuta. I want them to bring them all together under their supervision. And I want them to just fucking wreck house. This is the most compelling shit on Dynamite right now. It's the best stuff on AEW right now. This fucking angle. Because it comes off as pro wrestling. It feels like pro wrestling. Feels natural. Feels authentic. Just guys talking about real shit. About beating other people up. About doing what they love. Doing what they're supposed to be paid for. Which is beating other people up. I love it. Got some super chats. From Anakin JMT. Thank you very much, Anakin. First of all, 21 months as a member. Anakin JMT. Thank you so much for all your support. Become a member of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show, by the way. Join right there. Then you can come talk to. We'll have some members only stuff, which is always super fun. But anyway, Anakin says Daniel Bryan was good. But Bryan Danielson rules. Yes, he does. He does. And Anakin's other super chat. Thank you very much, Anakin. I appreciate it. Says the difference between WWE and AEW is when AEW starts with promos, it's usually good. When it's good, I'm 100% okay starting the show, but last night was meh. Here's the thing. This is because I disagree, but I know I disagree, Anakin. That's not the issue. By the way, Obscurity Knox, nice to see you, and also welcome to the chat. Here's the thing: is that the more they do it, the more people will say, "Oh, it was good," so the more they're going to do it. And at some point, it is going to stop being good, but they're going to keep doing it because, we've done this. We've been doing this for, so. You know? You have to nip this shit in the bud. Otherwise, it's going to become the rule. You got to start with a talk segment. You got to start with a promo. And at some point, it's not going to be good. And it can't be good every week. Because the law of averages. Just as simple as that. But I appreciate your super chat, Anakin. Wardlow smacked the shit out of Max Caster. I was here for that. And he wins a spot on the Face of the Revolution. Ladder match, it was fine. Y'all know what a Wardlow match is by now. The Acclaim tried to double team him, which allowed Max Caster to get some licks in, but Powerbomb Symphony does it. Anthony Bowens gets a powerbomb too. Sean Spears doesn't come in to help Wardlow. All that shit continues. We're continuing some storylines. Good stuff. And we get an interview backstage with Britt Baker and the rest of her crew. Jamie Hayter. Rebel. Reba Not Rebel. Rebel Not Reba. And Mercedes Martinez. And John Kreese is there. Yeah, from the Karate Kid. He's there. And I know it's like Cobra Kai award. I haven't watched Cobra Kai. So to me, this is fucking John Kreese. The bastard from the Karate Kid, right? He tells, because basically the thing here is Britt is threatening Mercedes Martinez and saying, if you don't end Thunder Rosa tonight, there's going to be consequences, or whatever. You have to be. And Mercedes walks away, and John Kreese talks to Thunder Rosa, and Thunder Rosa says, "What should I do if she doesn't get the job done?" And he does, the no mercy line, finish her, no mercy, But I was like, why didn't he tell Mercedes to sweep the leg? Because then I would have yes, I would have erupted. It's good stuff. I liked it. I think it was fine. Might as well talk about the match now. It didn't happen exactly in sequence, but since we're talking about it, Thunder Rosa defeated Mercedes Martinez in their no DQ match. Good, solid, no DQ plunder match into the audience. They throw themselves into steps. They fight into the audience. Flying body press off the bleachers by Rosa. Good shit. Stunner by Rosa as well. She's been using the Stone Cold Stunner a lot more. I've been seeing it. It's part of her arsenal now. She tries to set up a table. The table's not cooperating, right? One of the legs isn't working, so she sort of angles it on the apron, there's a big spot coming up with it. Unfortunately, the spot is Mercedes Martinez hitting a Fisherman's Buster through the table. But the table is angled, so she, Rosa doesn't exactly fall through it. It's not a terrible spot, but it didn't have quite the impact, right? Avalanche Hurricane Rana by Rosa as well. Mercedes hits a vicious spider German suplex. So I'm like, oh, ooh, Rosa's not supposed to fold in half like that. Now, I want to just do an aside here real quickly. But I'd like people to stop flipping the fuck out when German suplexes happen and people land a little high on their necks. Or if you're going to flip out when, because here's the thing, this is what I know. Is it because it's a woman and for some reason we think they're, they're fragile and dainty and we have to be careful? I don't know. Maybe there's some of that. I don't know. But it was a high angle one. She landed on her neck. She folded over. It was a good looking spot. Thunder Rosa got back up. She finished the match. Everything was fine. No one's injured. I think everyone should chill the fuck out. Or at the very least, if I see anyone complaining about this spot, but then popping when New Japan bros start dropping each other German suplexes literally on their necks. Or no, dudes, hit the bricks. These are pro wrestlers. They know what they're doing. Rosa with the crucifix driver and the thunder and ends the match with her thunder fire thunder driver. Excuse me, Rosa. On the chairs. Good, solid, fun. I liked it. I saw people complaining that, it looked a little sloopy because this was not tucked in and this. Fuck off. Do you want your brawls to look like brawl? I want my brawls to look like brawls. I don't think a brawl is meant to be an exhibition in technique, in precise wrestling execution. And after the match, Britt and the gang come down. They want to beat Rosa up. And, they beat Rosa up, and then they want Mercedes to beat her up. But Mercedes, because Rosa showed her some respect after the match, Mercedes is like, nah, maybe not, bro. So she gets beaten up. So we have Jamie Hayter beating the shit out of Mercedes Martinez, and we got Thunder Rosa beating the shit out of Britt Baker beating the shit out of Thunder Rosa. And you know what's cool? A Mercedes Martinez Thunder Jamie Hayter match, that's going to be cool as hell. Cool as hell. Put good wrestlers in the ring with each other, man. That's all we want. We had a Hangman Page promo that quickly turned into an Adam Cole promo. Calls him his Bullet Club buddy and his Ring of Honor roommate. And he challenges Page on whether he's a good friend because, the elite and, you're not hanging out with the Dark Order anymore. Page says that Cole doesn't have the best record when it comes to friendships either. Now that Cole is here, Page is back to being the other Adam. I like that line. I thought that was fun. But, ultimately it leads to Adam Cole saying he's got nothing but respect and admiration, shakes his hand, and walks away. And you're like, oh, this is kind of weird, but no, Red Dragon attack, right? Kyle O'Reilly, Bobby Fish. And then you have security that hits the ring to try and break it up. Then the Dark Order are right behind them. Preston Vance starts throwing fools around. I'm like, what is this story they're starting to tell with Preston? That he's hulking up. He's got this pent up rage. He's like, you wouldn't want to see me when I'm angry kind of thing. Just starts chucking people outside the ring. That's good shit. Santana and Ortiz defeated Chris Jericho and Jake Hager. This was a very solid match. I really liked it, and probably one of my favorite Chris Jericho outings in recent memory as well. Eddie Kingston is back, and he comes out to show some support to Santana and Ortiz. Clearly, the child murder has been forgiven. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, check out Impact Wrestling every Thursday night on Access TV. Is that what they're on now? I think so. Jericho with the lion salt is interrupted, and Santana goes and meets him up on the second rope to hit a side Russian leg sweep, which was pretty cool. Ortiz does a cannonball senton off the apron. Hager does a Vader bomb. Jericho catches Santana off a senton and transitions into a lion tamer, which was pretty dope. The Judas effect is dodged, and Santana's rolling lariat gets the win. Jericho blames Eddie Kingston for the loss and goes after him. So there's another Revolution match right there. Main event, Darby Allin took on Sammy Guevara for the TNT Championship. I thought this was a lot of fun. I thought it was, started off super fast. Another great match to finish Dynamite. Starts off fast. Sammy gets Darby on his shoulders. I was like, look, they're on the turnbuckle. Sammy gets Darby on his shoulders, and he just pushes Darby off, lifts him, lets him drop onto the top turnbuckle, and Darby, being Darby Allin, instead of just like taking the bump to the floor, no, he bumps on the apron and bumps then onto the floor like an idiot. Just wild to me. Just wild to me. Rope hung swanton by Sammy as well. Sammy's, at some point, his leg bends back under him after a fall. So Darby starts working the knee for the rest of the match. There's an avalanche Spanish fly. Darby reverses a GTH into a Last Supper, which ruled. Okay, so Darby hits a stunner on Guevara, right? Guevara rolls to the floor. Darby runs the ropes, goes for his putting the suicide in suicide dives, but Sam catches him with an ace crusher. Boom! Just as he's coming out, and I popped. I thought that was great. Perfect timing. Because Darby comes in full blast, right? Let's not forget that. He puts, Guevara puts Darby on the apron, goes for a senton atomico, but on the apron, but no, yep, Darby's gone. So, wipes out. Jose, the assistant, arrives. Sting runs him off. Andrade hits Darby Allin with his fucking iPad, and Darby Allin is knocked out. Fuck off, AEW. There is no way. There is no way I am buying Darby Allin, who consistently gets the shit kicked out of him, gets beaten to death, and keeps getting back up. There is no way I am buying a 7-ounce piece of thin electronics will knock him out. I cannot buy that. I can't buy anyone getting knocked out. If you pelt me with an iPad, it'll ring me. I'll be like, that hurt. Knock me out? Fuck off. Come on now. Anyway, Sammy takes him off of the turnbuckles and GTHs him. And I enjoyed the match. But I'm going to tell you, a little sour on the ending. Again, like, I remember fondly. Look, I get what they're doing. It's heat for Andrade. I get it. I know. But when we get to, I remember a time when AEW would do this, right? Would do the the heels come in, for the finish and, to get some heat. The match would end and then the heels would get the heat. And I always appreciated that because we'd get nice, clean, pocketed finishes. And then the heels jump on and they're like, blah, 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 blah. And they're like, oh, there's the heat. I was enjoying the match. I was in the groove. I was like I knew Sammy was retaining. That's not the point. The journey was very enjoyable. I did not enjoy the destination. It doesn't, this finish didn't connect with me. I think it would give us a nice, clean Sammy Darby ending. Then Andrade comes in and fucks shit up. That would have been fine. Oh, but you have to protect Darby. Once you start going down once you start going down the path, it's like, we did this because we have to protect the boys. You know what my line is? Yeah, if you've been listening to the Mr. Warren Hayes show for a while, you know what my line is. If you can't put over a winner, don't book the match. If you got to protect everyone, don't book the match. That being said, I griped a lot, but I thought this was, once we got rid of the initial promo, last night's episode of Dynamite was super fun. I had everything clicked afterwards. Everything was boom, 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 boom. Just great shit. Just some fantastic stuff. I really liked it. Just before we bring things to a halt, hey, Nick Nutter, nice to see you. Welcome to the chat. I want to put over the Warrior Wrestling 19 show that happened this weekend over in Chicago, or on the outskirts of Chicago. I shouldn't say Chicago because the Chicago natives are going to come after me and go, it wasn't in Chicago, it wasn't this place. That's not Chicago. Warrior Wrestling, systematically solid shows. It's another indie promotion that you should watch because just always have excellent shows with some great talent on it. This was none different. Started off with Sam Adonis, the Warrior Wrestling Lucha Champion, taking on Lince Dorado in his first booking since being freed of his 90 days. I don't understand Sam Adonis. I don't understand them. I guess Sam Adonis is an acquired taste because I don't get it. But in this match here, it was fine. It was a weird match for Lince's first return. For his return, his first match back on the indies. There's this weird spot where Adonis knuckle locks with the ref to go rope walking, but the ref is like, nah. And it doesn't look like, like the theatrics of wrestling where the ref would go, oh, no. It sort of looked like the ref, no, I don't know what to do here. And Adonis sort of got mad at him. Anyway, look, the spot didn't work. And Lince bites his ass at some point. This is what we were dealing with here. Dorado does the double moonsaults, goes for the third moonsault spot, but he does it to the floor because Adonis went to the floor, but then he does another moonsault in the ring. Adonis hits an STO. They set up some chairs on the outside. There's a Hurricane Rana by Dorado off the apron, right into the chairs. That was a cool spot. Tope con Hilo by Dorado. He gets caught by Adonis, who slams him against the guardrail, and Adonis then dumps him into the first row, into the audience. Adonis gets back into the ring. Lince can't beat the 10 count. Adonis retains by count out. So again, weird return bout for Lince. And for Sam Adonis, works the lucha style, works a lot in AAA. you would have expected this match to be a little faster? Would have expected. Dalton Castle defeated Warhorse in a fun little match here. There was a lot of posturing at first because you got two very big personalities. A lot of jaw jacking at first. Castle extends a hand to shake his hand, and Warhorse pulls a Randy Orton where he stuffs his hand in his jock and then pulls it out so Dalton Castle can shake it, and Castle's not sure, so he does it himself. Anyway, fun little beginning to be expected. Northern Light suplex by Warhorse. There's a trailer hitch as well by Warhorse at some point. There's some gut wrench suplexes. Warhorse does a spinning suicide dive to the floor, which was great, but Dalton Castle's bangarang puts our boy Warhorse away. Good stuff. Fun little match. Then we had Sky Blue defeating Miranda Alizé. Some fun back and forth here. Alizé's heel work really is the story of this match. She is fantastic in getting the reaction she wants, in getting the audience to cheer for Sky Blue. And I'll tell you, looking at this match, looking at Sky Blue, still a relative rookie, new to the business. Alizé, who's got like 2 decades under her belt. I think what this match did was expose one of Sky Blue's principal weaknesses, because I think she's a fine athlete, but her connection to the audience is lacking. You know, how she goes to get the audience, even as a babyface, to have them support her, get behind her. You can't dump that all on the heel. She has to do some work as well. I think it's a key missing component right now to a final product of Sky Blue. But like I said, she's still new, she's still working, developing. This is the kind of thing that will come with experience. But it's just when you see a vet like Alizé do it, just effortlessly, getting the audience to turn on her, and it's like Sky Blue really lacks that connection. She's a baby face. You know, she comes in, she smiles, she's very charismatic, she's pretty, but then there's still theatrics to a babyface connecting with the audience as well. There's a spinning neckbreaker by Blue. They trade some good running strikes against each other. A short arm knee strike by Alizé, but Sky Blue gets the win with her weird finisher. Sorry, good little match. We had a 4-way match. Myron Reed, Alex Zane, El Gringo Loco, and Blake Christian tore it up. Standing frog splash straight off the bat by Blake Christian. Moonsault by Loco. Alex Zane dumps everyone in a corner, then just cannonballs onto everyone, just like recklessly, just fantastic stuff. There's a great spot here where Christian is sitting on the top rope, right? And he's sitting on the top rope. Alex Zane jumps off of Myron Reed's back, who's bent over, and he head scissors and Rana's Blake Christian off the top rope, and Blake Christian flies off, but locks Arana onto Gringo Loco, flies off. Fantastic spot. Just fantastic stuff. Fantastic spot. Zayn also has an awesome spot where he does a cutter to the floor like a diamond dust move. Fantastic stuff. Blake Christian hits a combo inverted DDT Uranagi, which was also really cool. There's this triple electric chair spot that Blake Christian counters. That Blake Christian counters onto Myron Reed into a Spanish fly, and he covers, and Loco just dumps Alex Zane on top of him. Blake Christian wins with the butterfly DDT. Just a fantastic spot fest. And not one where everyone's taking their time to set up the spots. No, this had rhythm, speed, good pacing. This was a good one. This was very, very much a good one. We had the Acclaimed taking on Brian Cage and Casey Navarro. This was fine. It was all right. It was a good little match. But I think that the story coming out of this one here was the promo to start off the match. Of course, Max Caster did a rap to begin. Said the Acclaimed doing it on the big stage. We're getting more TV time than Brian Cage, right? You think you better stop that? You're going to expire like your contract. And KC hit the shower. You're dumb enough to sign with Cord Bauer, which was really funny. But then, so Casey Navarro sort of gets Brian Cage into it, and he's like, you should rap. And Brian Cage says, all right, I'll rap. But it's more like, slam poetry, what he does, as opposed to actually rapping. And he's like, you guys come out here trying to show off like you're some kind of rap god, but then we realize you're just a bootleg version of 8 Mile. And, there's some acting like you were a great team all along. That's not the way it's gone because you two never met before Tony Khan. And then Brian Cage drops the line that, yeah, I've been off for TV for months, but I still make more money than you guys. Which was pretty funny. Navarro and Brian Cage is a fun tag team. I like it. Reminds me of Scott Steiner and I want to say, Petey Williams, right? I'm drawing a blank. Scott Steiner. Yeah, it was Petey Williams. Big guy, smaller dude. I like it. No, this was fine. We've got 2 matches of the night on this card here. This was one of the first. Mike Bailey versus Santana. Speedball Mike Bailey versus Santana. Just absolute fucking great stuff here. Speedball comes in with some kicks. He does a golden triangle to the floor. Of course, that's usually what you do when you do a golden triangle. There's a power bomb and a buckle bomb by Santana. He's in control with some suplexes. He hits a lion salt, which was interesting. Excuse me, which was interesting considering his feud with Chris Jericho, right? And he can't quite get along. He's aping his moves now. He does the 3 amigos, but like super snappy and fantastic stuff. Speedball fights back with a flurry of kicks, a huge axe kick, and a corkscrew splash. Rolling cutter by Santana, a tope con hilo, an acai moonsault by Santana. They battle on the apron. Bailey hits a moonsault double knees, but Santana rolls out of the way, so just drives his knees into the apron. It's a suplex into a DVD by Santana. Bailey hits the moonsault double knees and the buzzsaw kick, but a lariat and a pile driver get the job done for Santana. That was supremely good. That was a match where you're like, okay, if you're gonna watch the Warrior Wrestling show, it was for this match. And I'm gonna tell you, on top of that, Mike Bailey this weekend, he was in California on Friday night fighting ACH in another fantastic match. An absolutely fantastic match. Better than the one he had with Santana, in my opinion. Just absolute balls to the wall. Flies over to Illinois the very next day to have another insane match. Just great stuff. And you should really check out the Mike Bailey versus ACH match, which happened at West Coast Pros, The Art of Drowning show. Just great stuff. We had Bandito versus Dante Martin, which was, I feel like it had a very good final third. But it kind of felt like it took a while for these guys to find their groove, find their chemistry. There was a couple of miscommunications, but it started clicking, and as it started clicking, everything sort of wrapped up. So a good final third. Moonsault slam by Bandito. Torture rack into a GTS as well, which was really cool. Dante Martin hits a springboard corkscrew drive, which was great. And the double springboard moonsault gets the win. The Briscoes successfully defended the Ring of Honor Tag Team Championships against the Workhorsemen, JD Drake and Anthony Henry. Mark Briscoe sentons off a chair to the floor, which was great. Anthony Henry face washes Mark Briscoe against the rail on the outside. It was a huge kick. Great stuff. The JD Drake gets a hot tag after Henry gets picked apart by the Briscoes. He takes the Briscoes out with a neck breaker, DDT, and a senton combo. Missile drop kick suplex combo by the Workhorsemen as well. JD Drake hits a top rope senton, pins, but the pin is broken up by Mark Briscoe Death Valley drivering Henry onto JD. And it ends with the Briscoes hitting the J Driller and the Froggy Bow. Short? Well, I mean, not short, but not the longest match, but very physical. Good tag team match. And the main event was Thunder Rosa defending her Warrior Wrestling Women's title against Athena, formerly known as Ember Moon, with her first return to the Indies as well. There was a knuckle lock pin attempt at first, and Rosa just lifts Athena up. You know, she's on her back with the knuckle locks, and she just lifts her up with her knees on her chest. Just some great show of strength right there. Athena fakes a leg injury. So the referee's checking on her, and Athena and Thunder Rosa's like, "Oh, are you okay?" So on and so forth. But she was playing possum. She hits a Samoan drop on Thunder Rosa. But Thunder Rosa comes back with a hesitation basement drop kick and a Northern Lights suplex. Athena, with a springboard code breaker and a Michinoku driver. Frankensteiner by Rosa. This match, which had started off with a level of respect, you know, both women's like, "Oh, this is so great, nice to see you in the ring," you know, so on and so forth. It's a pleasure to fight you, and what turned into a fight. It went from a wrestling match to a fight, and I was there for it. Avalanche sit-out powerbomb by Athena. Death Valley driver by Rosa. Athena goes to the top rope, hits the Eclipse on Thunder Rosa, but she's too late. 30-minute time limit is achieved. Thunder Rosa retains the title. This was my second match of the night. Very strong stuff. And some weird comments from the audience as well during this match. I don't want to get into it, but I find it strange these days that there's some wrestling fans that are kind of back on to being very disrespectful to wrestlers. I'm like, come on now. We should be better than this at this point, right? I think we should be. I think we should be. Warrior Wrestling 19, you should check it out. It was a damn fine wrestling program. Good event. And that wraps up our weekly wrestling inspection. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to wrap it up for tonight. I want to thank everyone for joining me tonight, everyone who joined me on the pre-show and who stuck around here tonight talking about pro wrestling. I really appreciate it. Join me next week again, where we're going to continue this. And if you become a member, you can come join me and the members tomorrow evening on Friday as we talk about more pro wrestling all together. Discord calls and whatnot. It is a good time. last minute drive to get a like on this video, a review, if you're listening to this on your favorite podcast app, whatever. I appreciate any type of support that you can show for the Mr. Warren Hayes show. In the meantime, folks, I hope you have a wonderful evening and a great weekend. We'll see you next time.